So, A&B is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
You know, of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials I've seen, this was the missing key.
Every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else. So I would say this is the greatest resource for learning animation.
For me, A&B Animation Library is hands down the best animation learning resource that I've seen. I've tried all the tutorials, I've gotten all the books. I've never been able to really grow until I found A&B.
And it's incredible. I've only just begun it, but I definitely am getting more from that than I did from my 1.5 years of college.
I've noticed definitely that my animation has improved a lot, and it's more alive than ever. And what I also like about this animation training is that you also gain real confidence.
Real Animator Training Library is unequivocally the best resource for animation, 2D animation, traditional hand-drawn animation that I've seen.
So I wholeheartedly recommend the A&B Real Animator Training Library to anybody who wants actual knowledge and actual applicable concepts to create their own animation and to move forward in the field of animation and to set your work above those that are just kind of teaching themselves and not learning these tried and true classic concepts.
A&B is motivated by his students' successes and improvements. He's a great teacher, a great animator with over 20 years experience in the industry, so you can't really get much better than that. I strongly recommend him to anybody.
I'm thinking on how to put in words what I feel about it. I love that. It approached me from my dream of becoming an animator. Every cent I paid in there was worth it.
I like that the library is structured. I can go back and watch it anytime I want to, and he's just got so much knowledge. And I just highly recommend it to anyone who's out there looking to learn traditional 2D animation.
So thank you, MB, so much. And thank you so much for all you done for me.
So, are you...
All right, I think I've got audio. There we go. Hello, and welcome once again to another edition of A&B Animation Livestream. Yes, this is the place where you're going to get real. This is where real animation happens, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing. None of the fake stuff that is, currently polluting the world right now. This is the place for the select few to stay true to their art and be real. I'm going to be sharing some skills. We had a chat in the last live stream, which is not available because it was a training library stream. I did have a little bit of chat with people, some people, and somebody was trying to animate Jafar, and they were struggling, it seemed, from their words. So I thought that would be a good free live stream to share with the select few, the authentic animators out there, the people who like to really animate, not the replicants. We are gonna learn how to draw and animate Jafar, doing a series of expressions and head turns. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Now, we will also be going into the Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress group and having a look at what some real people are doing. Looking at some real work, some real development skills, not those fake people taking the easy alternate route and jumping on the AI bandwagon. So we're going to be looking at that. So we have got Cameron Alan Davidson Black in the chat. How are you, my friend? We have got Love One Piece Forever and Alexander Pantin. Good to see you, mon ami. Bonjour. Bienvenue to the live stream. We have got Nati Kit. Love One Piece Forever. You're saying, have you heard that Sora AI is shutting down. I couldn't care less, and I urge you not to care less. The thing is many people, but especially the young people, everybody is insecure. I'm insecure in some ways. That's what the human is always looking for, survival. But security is something, and uncertainty is something that the powers that be like to prey on, to take away your attention, to instill fear into your actions, and to stop you from. Well, don't be glad it's gone, because another one will take its place. Everything is research and development. They'll be moving on to robot technology. Possibly sports will be overtaken by robots, and people will be watching robots in the future, probably when I'm gone. Maybe I'll see that, I don't know. But my point being is, it's all here to stay. But it's more important that you take security in yourself and be comfortable with yourself, and recognize and acknowledge that you, my friend, love One Piece forever, are one of the select few. You're one of the elite. You're somebody that actually likes, you're real, you're authentic. You want to do this for real. You actually want to use your brain and your human body connection to generate something authentic from within you. Now, please try to understand that this is not something new. The balance has always been that most people, the herd, the majority, and we can't be judgmental in a negative way. We just have to accept and be forgiving that they are lazy, inauthentic, and non-creative, non-art. They're perfectly capable of creative faculties, but they're non-artists. And they want to have a go. It's this everyone gets a medal mentality. And seeing it happening in the art world, as I mentioned in my last live stream, it's nothing new. I watched it as a real hand-drawn animator. I had the same view about computer animation. In my mind, they don't know how to draw. They don't know how to animate. Something sheeny, shiny has come along, and they've learned the technology, and suddenly they're the stars of the show. Good luck. As long as you know the equation that the artists are the elite, the select few, that little art world in their little bubble that many people like to make fun of, that's actually you. All right? Maybe you don't like looking at squiggles and lines and marks that a chimpanzee has made and umming and ahhing about it, and you might laugh at them, but don't laugh too much, because you are into drawing and animating and designing via your, the hand-drawn method, brain-body connection. You're into the process. The majority out there don't care about the process. They want something quick, fast, and easy before they can go on to the next. And it's always been the case. So crying about Sora AI, worrying about what's happening, you're kind of reducing your level. You're lowering yourself to go down to that level. What real animator training is all about is awakening to your realness, understanding and accepting your elite greatness, and separating yourself from the fakeness of everything that there is in terms of this is why I've always had the line. I've never talked about software. I never will talk about software. I never will focus on technology, because I have been trying over the years to win hearts and minds for this moment in time, where it is about your ability to draw and animate. That's why you're doing this. That's why you're interested in this. That's why you're sitting here listening to me right now, because you're passionate about that. Now, shifting your focus to the lazy, it's like, imagine a chief restaurant, like a top chef, worrying about McDonald's, spending his whole day hoping McDonald's is going to shut down. McDonald's ain't ever going to go anywhere. And even if they did, more junk food would be there, because the majority, it isn't even about expense. They've got a taste for trash. All right? Accept it. Be one with the truth that you don't have a taste for trash. You have an artistic, creative mindset. And you can try to communicate and win and select, and it's a battle that some people want to fight to try and build the higher mind. Walt Disney tried it with Fantasia, trying to put classical music with mainstream cinema to educate, but let's start with ourselves first, shall we? Let's work on ourselves. What skills and abilities do you have as an animator? How much energy are you putting into your drawing? How much time are you putting into your animation? And how much of that energy and time is wasted worrying about what's happening with AI? Because whether AI is here or not, you are not focusing on your ability to draw and animate. And if it wasn't AI, it was always something else. It was always they're remaking movies, they're doing this, they're doing that. Your attention is always being wasted on something else. What the real animator space is about is we have already acknowledged that we are real, all right? We are the real deal. Now, in order to be the real deal, you have to act like the real deal. And that means focusing on what really matters, focusing on what's real to you. Because what's happening outside is like throwing dirt into the wind. It'll blow straight back into your face. It may even blind you, and you'll never be able to draw properly again. So let's focus on ourselves, our authentic selves, our authentic expression, and bring out that in the work. So I'm going to ask you in the chat. There's only 10 of you right now, but you can answer and it'll give you some power. Are you the real deal, and are you ready to be real? Because if you're ready to be real, that's exactly what we're going to be doing on this live stream. We're going to be doing real animation. So before I switch over to my screen and start doing some of that real animation, I'm just going to say hello to a few other people who have made themselves known in the chat. We have got Dylan, I'll destroy you all. Draws, good to see you. He's certainly the real deal. We've got Dragon Dreams. Hello, how are you? We have got DP, I got 4428, excuse me. It's a code name. Welcome to have you. Bloodman, good morning to you. I like that name. Blood, that's real. That moves the body. Silver Sun, how are you? I'm writing a story about how the currency in the world is called truth, which the gov is making everybody lazy to have not. There you go. You see what's going on right now is enforcing you to be creative. So every adversity has a seed of an equivalent benefit within it, and that's how we be real in this world. We don't look at things and be afraid of them. We look at things and look for the opportunity within them. The opportunity to be real, the opportunity to be authentic and discover that which is within us that is real. Things are okay. Okay, so those guys are talking. Let's change our screens. Let's get mine. All right, now before we start going and searching for images of Jafar, because we are going to be animating a Jafar picture, let's go into the Real Animator Facebook group and have a look at some of the real work going on in here. Now, Cameron, I'm very impressed. I'm very pleased, but I'm going to give you a few pointers on how you're going to accelerate your drawing even more. I'm glad you're listening. You are doing this heavy line. which is good because by the time you are finished with a couple of months of set design and you switch to thin line, my friend, I think we're going to have that change that I've been waiting to see in your work. Now, this is the one that's really I'm gonna really kind of show you how to go about doing all this. It's your perspective work, which is good. You keep doing that, keep learning about that. I'm already seeing an improvement, but I'm gonna take this drawing here and I'm gonna tell you how to move forward, but with something like this, all right? So, your audio quality is very bad. How bad is it? Is it like, how's the audio? Hey Frank, how you doing? Mike is a bit muffly. I'll just keep talking until you let me know how the mic is. Is the mic any better? Is the mic working? All right, I'm just going to keep talking, Cameron, and then I'll have a look at what's going on with the mic in the chat. It sounds like one of those radio channels that has a bad signal. This is annoying. Okay. What about now? All right. Okay. It's still, if it's not improving, I'm going to have to switch to my laptop mic. So, is it still sounding funny? It's good. Okay. Well, I don't understand that, but let's be thankful that we got it sorted out at the start of the stream. All right, Cameron. So, I'm going to make a quick sketch of your guy here. All right. But then what I'm going to do to kind of help explain this to you, right? As I'm doing this lightly because I want you to kind of, we're just going to focus on this, right? So now, as you look at your drawing here, Cameron, you can see that you've kind of like got these bits of drapery and you're eyeballing and you're using hand-eye coordination. That's good. But the whole point of this, Mike is sounding scratchy like bad. It's great now. Awesome. Thank you. It's great now. So I want you to kind of, even if it's not in the live action photograph that you're working from, I want you to kind of make these connections with the thick pen. That's why we're doing it with the thick pen. So I want you to kind of do one solid line like this, right? Right? And you can take your pen off the line, but when you do, I want you to start up here and I want you to kind of like continue it down. So you're looking at how lines are joining. Even here, we're going to go inside, right? And we're going to go outside. And I'm going to do an under drawing, inside, outside, like that, right? Then from here, I'm going to do a big swooping line where that's going up there like that. Then I'm going to do one here, like, because this is going to help you understand the appeal of drapery and how all that works. So now we've got this, right? So I'm going to bring that like this and possibly bring another one here, right? So even if I'm kind of improvising over the, see, even here, I'm going to join that, right? Now, in reality, when you start drawing, you won't join it. But I want you to see the connections. I want you to see the connections that are occurring in this, in there. So you will start to get very kind of appealing shapes. So here I'm kind of fighting that. So I'm going to bring that up here and kind of join that like that. I'm trying to make everything one continuous. So we're moving away from being completely accurate. So one continuous shape here like this, and I'm not taking my pen off, and I'm making one continuous, and I'll pull it down like that. I'm gonna make one continuous shape like this, right? And then I'm gonna join it in there, maybe draw it down like that. Now watch the way I do that, Cameron. Now, so yours is more accurate to perhaps what you were eyeballing in the live action. But the reason for this thick pen is I want to train your brain to see connections. I want you to train your brain to see connections. So we're going to do this other sleeve here. So I'm going to come down there like that. I'm going to come over the side, and I'm just going to come off here. Now from this point onwards, I'm going to put one, right? And then from this point, I'm going to put another one like this. And I'm going to bring that up into there. Now from the same point, I'm going to bring that in like this, right? And then I'm going to just try to bring everything down into there. Some choices are gonna be better than others, and then even how you drape the bottom. Can you see? So they kind of, when like say you have a woman sitting down, right? And now I'm gonna put the skirt like this, right? But I want to have a little bit of thing going on here. I'm gonna draw the bottom like this, right? Then from that bottom, we're going to create opportunities, right? Which are going to be like kind of enabling me to have some drapery on there, right? Because I've connected the bottom, right? And that's how we start to see things like that. So you're connecting these bottom lines, right, as one continuous line. And that's where eventually you'll start working more intuitively like this. This is how I want you to kind of grow, like with gesture and line, Cameron. So the end result isn't this thick kind of felt tip child's colored pencil thing. The end result will be what I'm kind of doing right now, right? Kind of like drawing a line here, figuring out what's going on the bottom there like that. And then I'll be coming up here and thinking, okay, that'll be connecting with that. What's happening here? I might. So I'm always thinking about what's connecting. So I make that intuitive choice, right? But at the moment, where your brain is at the moment, you're just eyeballing and trying your best to copy, like, but we want to kind of, you want to kind of let your drawing take over. And this is again what'll make you an authentic artist. An authentic artist. Okay, because artists interpret, right? I don't know if that's spelt right. Whereas inauthentic, fake replicants, they prompt, right? And then the computer searches and copies, right? And copies and replaces. But the guy doing the prompting is thick and fake. And I like to call them, I love the movie Blade Runner. So people that do AI, I now call them replicants, right? I think we should start a movement online to call people replicants, okay? Who do fake art. They're replicants. It's like what Deckard says in Blade Runner. What does he say? He says, if they're a benefit, it's not my problem. They're either a benefit or a hazard. If they're a benefit, it's not my problem, okay? Right now, the machine that I'm using to draw on is a benefit, right? So Cameron, that's my advice to you. Moving forward with your drawing, I strongly suggest you start to think about, like this one here, this person here. You have the shoulder, and just do one continuous line and use some of that measuring that we talk about, right? One continuous line, but then make them clear shapes, right? You want to use shapes like that, make them clear shapes, right? Make one continuous line, make it clear shapes, because I want you to start, because then as you're making one continuous line, you're going to go heavy and soft. You're going to go heavy and soft, and that's where we can really start moving forward, right? Because I can then go heavy where I'm a little bit more definite about it, right? And then I can start going soft. So this is the evolution of your drawing, which is why I'm asking you to make these heavy lines and focus on curves against straights at the moment. All right, so that is Cameron Allen Davidson Black. Now we have got another authentic, real animator in action, Logan Bernard Mitchell, who has finished the first quadruped walk in the intermediate archive. So let us have a click on that. Now it doesn't, I'm going to put loop. We're going to watch it looping. Logan, this is very good. I like the perspective on the nose and the snout as well. Little bit, I don't know, maybe I can't remember. It's a long time since I've done this tutorial, but I don't think I would have had his leg kind of dissolve into the front leg there. It would have, so maybe that position there could have been a little, I don't recall doing that in the video. If I did, then that's my bad. But aside from that, Logan, and also the positioning of his foot, it comes too high. See, he's not on the lower ground, right? You've only got one line, so you got to understand the quadruped. We talk about footfall in there. This will be a 4-beat. So from top view, the quadruped, even if he's gonna go in and out slightly, right? So even if his footfall is gonna go in or out slightly, there's still gonna be these lines that he's. So you're kind of having the back leg, which is on this line. It goes onto this line, right? And then that should be purely reserved for the left leg or the right leg, right? It's right rear leg and left rear leg, right? So if you was going to turn it this way, right, then, and we were going to look, so this one you've got going here and this one you've got going here, right? So that's the only thing that lets it down, is the leg placements. But I love the mechanics. You have the perspective. You have the perspective. The shift of weight in that rear hip box is excellent. Superb, Logan. Absolutely bang on. I love, look at that. Look, we see the knee action happening, the knee bend. Excellent. We really feel the weight transition. Very well done. Almost to perfection. The tail, the butt kind of swaying in perspective. So then what we have is that upper and lower. This is what I see failing in most animal walk cycles, even those that are kind of copied of very good animators online by people who are just following along without really understanding the principle, is the top view, the hip and shoulder counterbalance that's happening in the animal, which happens in a person, is in the animal as well. So this is particularly well done on yours, more so than some of the other people who have done this exercise, Logan. I'm extremely impressed with that. That is very, very nice. Very, very nice work. Let's have a look at the front arm section. Apart from what's happening with the feet, I'm actually very, very, again, pleased with that. We've got real rotation in the rib cage, in the thorax, and I'll go as far to say that your snout is even more exaggerated, thus looking better than my example, Logan. I love the shift of the head sway in there. That is very, very nice. Very, very nice. I love it gives him a nice kind of like almost like a Lion King, which it's much more animated and exciting than my very kind of basic example. So that gives him this nice sway in his head. We even see his other eye there. That's very cute. Let's look at the follow through on the ear. Nice and subtle, not over the top. Very good. The only thing that's happening in that head is his eye position. As you know, if he's gonna be moving it, his eye socket, you wouldn't really see that little gap. We'd almost have so if this is a 3/4, right, and this is a profile, right, then a rear 3/4 would be that, right? So it's gone completely the other way, right? So right, so here you're kind of like still having this gap here with the rear 3/4, which kind of makes it look a bit odd, but that's okay. That's minor, Logan. That's so much to get through with this cycle that I'm super impressed. The feet on that one singular line let it down a little bit, but the body mechanics are so good, particularly of the weighted step and the sway in the pelvis at the rear, that it's almost forgivable. But obviously to a trained eye, it's kind of like, no, that should not be the case. But that's very, very nice. Very, very nice. Great work. So good to see you back, Logan, doing some strong stuff. I remember when you first joined, there was a lot of pushing and shoving, kind of feeling like you just wanted to force your way through it. But now I get a sense through the way that you're doing things, I get a sense that you're really knuckling down and really, really focusing now. It's really good work. I'm really enthused by that. Excellent post. All right, so that is the Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress community. The posts that we've looked at some of the posts in there. Again, if you do not want to be a replicant and you're ready to be real, just think about joining this group. It's absolutely free on Facebook. You just need to answer a few questions to prove you're not a replicant. That's it. I mean, replicant, I fondly call people who use AI replicants. Also, if you're just going to come on this group and you're not interested in being a real animator, then you got to answer a few questions. All right, so that's it. Now we're going to go on to the meat and potatoes of the stream. I can see in the chat that we have got a new comment from Sarah Guran. Hello again. Did I catch the stream on time, or is it about to end? No, it's just about to get started. I remember somebody was wanting to animate Jafar. in the previous chat. So I said, okay, let's do that. I've hardly ever drawn Jafar. Aladdin was one of my favorite films. I had a huge crush on Jasmine, and I ended up marrying a woman that looked like Jasmine, and I drew a lot of Jasmine, and I drew a few Aladdins, but I never really drew Jafar when I was a kid. So even though Andreas Deja was one of probably my favorite animator when I was a teenager, so I loved The Black Cauldron, and I loved Gaston, and Beauty and the Beast was just coming out, and I decided a long time ago that I was going to be an animator. But when you're getting a little bit older, 15 I think I was, 14, 15, I thought, this is it, it's getting real, I'm so going to be a part of that world. And I love Gaston. Andreas Deja is so good. And but I don't know why I was never tried to draw Jafar, not really, perhaps because he was just a big shape at the time, and I think I appreciate him a lot more as an adult than as a child, because I like to see limbs and action and movement, and Jafar was always in a concealed shape. But now as an adult, I can see there's a lot more about Jafar, which is probably better than the characters I didn't like, than the characters I liked when I was young. So let's do it. Let's have a go at drawing Jafar. Now, you can all do this too. I'm going to show you. I've got on a Google image search, I have typed Jafar model sheet, and what's so good about this is I've got the ability. There's somebody has posted. It's on x.com. I hope it opens up. It's not opening. Here we go. Somebody has posted. No, this page doesn't exist anymore. Andreas Deja's construction of Jafar. So maybe it's on Deja blog. I don't know. But we've got so many like rough Jafars here to look at that I don't necessarily need his construction. But I can click on Deja View, which is his blog, and I'm going to open this link, so I have a nice big access to Jafar. So they're showing the evolution of Jafar's design here, but I've got these nice Jafar heads that I can look at. I'm looking for a profile of Jafar. Oh, here's a construction. Here's his construction. So let's have a quick look at Jafar's construction according to his designer, which is Andres Deja. So, all right, now let me just get back into the chat. Now, I'm going to start now. Imagine I'm an animator on a new job at Disney back in 1990 or 1991, and I've been asked to animate Jafar fresh. I don't never drawn him before. I'm given a day to play around, right, with it. This is how I would do it. Now, you don't have to join in, but since we're living in a climate with a lot of fakers online and a lot of replicants, this space, Real Animator Training, is a place where we're the real deal. So all I'm going to say is, it's awesome to make the chat interactive, get interactive with you guys. So I'm going to start to get real. So if you are ready to be real, type in the chat, I'm ready to be real, and that'll be cool. You don't have to. It's just something to play along, just to really get into the spirit of real animation over fake AI replicant animation, because that's what I've just realized that sometimes I'm very secure, and whenever I work and draw, I poo-poo it, and I say, who cares about AI? Just do what you do. But I know that the people who follow me and the people who see me perhaps are a little bit worried about it. So I'm going to slightly change my attitude a little bit. I'm going to try and bump you guys up Some of you might think it's corny, some of you might not, but I think it's all worth it. So let's do it. We've got a few people. I'm ready to be real. I'm ready to be fucking real. Awesome. The lovely Hervonia Baker's on chat. So also type you're the real deal in the chat. Type I am the real deal, because it's all good, because I just want to subconsciously help program you to not be afraid of AI, and to start getting secure in your own ability. You're a real artist. You're one of the minority. You love what you do. You love the process. AI is here to stay. The fake people, the fakers, the lazy people have always been there. Don't hang around with them. Don't focus on them. Don't give them your energy. You'll just become like that, right? So remind yourself, whether it's in type, whether it's in writing, whether it's standing at the mirror when you're brushing your teeth, I'm the real deal. I'm a real animator. I'm a real animator. I'm the real deal, Just I'm ready to be real. When you wake up in the morning, time to be real. What was it? Rocky Balboa or the Stallone films used to say, time to go to work. Time to go to work. Well, let's change that. Time to get real. Time to be real, right? Because I think as the way the world is going right now, it's getting more and more artificial, and the people are celebrating the artificial. People are worshiping the artificial. That's good. Let them. That's not your concern, but don't get lost in it. Just remind yourself with these phrases. Time to get real. I'm ready to be real. I'm the real deal. That's what we want. That's what's gonna help you every time. You like, I was looking through I'm sorry to be like talking a bit, but I think this is important. I was looking through my social media briefly. I don't waste my time there, and this is why. And I saw somebody had created a very authentic looking hand-drawn animation that looked like a classic old Disney cartoon using AI. Now, the person that did that was probably a real animator being paid by an AI company to start peddling it and encouraging people to sign up to that. And the average Joe is not going to know how to prompt to get those results. But eventually, there'll be prompt tutorials on YouTube. So my brain started working and thinking. And you know what I said to myself? Because that's when you get caught. That's when these people try to get your guard down. See, I know a little bit about exchanging and trading blows, right? Mental blows. That's when these people try to get your guard down and to get you to start questioning and thinking about yourself. And then, boom, they're going to get you, right? They're going to get you, and that blow is going to hurt. And then you're going to be a little bit dazed. So it's time to, so you know what I said? I just smiled and said, time to be real. I'm the real deal. I'm a real animator. And what that does is it rewires the brain. And those brain cells in me have been built and have been growing since I was so young, which is why it's so easy for me. But I understand that some of you guys, you're trying to do your best. You're trying to be confident. You're trying to believe. But you're constantly getting bombarded with all these frightening things coming at you from the internet by the fakers, by the replicants, telling you to join the dark side, if you will. Well, I'll just say the few little sayings, affirmations, if you will. I'm a real animator. I'm the real deal. I'm ready to be real. It's time to get real. Okay? Maybe when you finish eating, when you finish doing something, okay, time to get real, time to be real, time to do something real, because everywhere you look, it's artificial. Artificial this, artificial that, artificial, look how special artificial is. You can't do what artificial can do. You can't do that, what artificial can do. This, AI this, AI that. This is happening in the world, and it's all, the world is changing. You know what? The only thing that remains constant in the sea of change, is I. right? You watching it all, that's what this little window, this little thing that people and ah about all the time, that's really all it represents. You're observing it all, and every time you say I, you're programming and talking to yourself, right? You're talking to yourself. So every time you say I'm the real deal, right? Or I am ready to be real, right? Or even this, because you're talking to yourself, time to be real, right? Instead of time to go to work, time to be real. You are reassuring this little I of what that identity is, right? That's you, right? So that's a little bit of I'm just sharing with you a little bit of the way I try to navigate. Yeah, well, they call that the Illuminati, or the illumined just means the ones who know, right? So maybe you should be the one who knows, Dragon Dreams, because you're the one who knows who you are and what you want. But then when somebody puts something in front of you that makes you afraid of who you are and what you want, that's when you're fragile. So it's important that you remind yourself constantly. If it's not about being the real deal or a real animator, then you find your own. I'm a real writer. I'm a real painter. But I think the word real is so important right now, because people are starting to question what they even think is real. We live in a world where people are comfortable watching computer graphics being called live action. They're comfortable watching the live action version of Disney's Robin Hood with a computer generated fox. So we live in a world where it's a deliberate, by design, the confusion of perception of what is real, simply made to market more, so people never leave their desk, or never leave their screen and actually use what is real, your body, your physical vehicle for your consciousness to create. All right, just consume and understand that you are hypnotized and unable to create. You have no real motivation or self-belief that you have a chance of creating anything in this world. Leave it to us. We will do it for you. Many people are happy to live like that. I sure as hell ain't, and I'm pretty sure you guys ain't. So the Real Animator Training Space is for all who love art, creation, and animation, just to remind you guys what it is and what it is and why you do this. All right, now let's go. We've been for 48 minutes without doing any Jafar animation. So let's go in there. Let's do this. Let's look at how Andreas Deja talks about Jafar. So he says to start with a circle, okay? And that circle obviously has a line that goes in the middle of it, right? That's supposed to be the middle. And then we have an eye line, which is halfway through the circle, where he puts his eyes, right? He's got them quite close together. And then he's got the eyebrows, which come over this side, and the nose, which goes over this side. And then he's got a diamond, which is probably the length of another circle, I'm imagining. He doesn't really elaborate on that. And he puts a line in there like that. And then he joins it like that. Then we've got a neck floating off And we have got, I'm not sure how he's got his little diamond in there. Not sure if he just eyeballs the height of his turban, but we've got a turban on there like that. Then from the side view, it's more like a using what he knows of his drawing experience. He's got the nose coming off. Is it in line with that? Almost, yeah. Not quite. The nose comes off there. And then this is like the usual skull that I talk about, where we've got, oh, I should be using this. Okay, I was intuitively doing it, right? So we've got this coming off the side like that with the beard, which comes in and like that. This beard comes around and down like that. Beard is probably the thing that I think is gonna kind of cause me a little bit of confusion. That's the only thing that I'm he's got a mustache on either side here like that. Then he's got the turban coming up here. Main head shape. So he says main head shape is this, right? So as long as we kind of know this, we've got our Jafar kind of. So, and I'm gonna kind of just do this for myself, just to kind of remember what's going on that side. All right, so I wasn't even going to do that, but I just thought it was interesting because he's got it. And he says main body shape. So Jafar seems to be quite a tall character. I'm not sure how many heads tall, and I'm not going to be worrying too much about his body today. If you're doing a character, I suggest you pick different days to learn. So we've got something like this, which comes out like that. And I think this goes in line with this. And it's probably a little bit more out to the side like that. And you see, Cameron, here he's drawn these lines here like this, right? He's drawn these, but then if we were gonna kind of like, we'd then have all that kind of stuff happening, right? To make it more in. So you see how that stuff I was showing you, Cameron, kind of helps in scenarios like that. All right, well, that was an interesting look at Jafar's. Now I'm going to look at some of these rough Jafars that he's got, and I'm going to use them to create a series of expressions. So I'm going to look, let's look at this one here. Right. Let's use the main model. So I'm going to first start thinking about the acting. Right. So let's start with his head this way. So we've got that expression going on here. Now I'm just kind of roughing in vaguely where I want the character to be. And then once I've done that, I will start putting in some. Okay, now this is important. This is going to help me. This is extremely important. I can get lost with this. Those big shoulders. So let's keep it all in a triangle. Right? So this is my first expression. I'm just gonna keep his mouth down like that. That's the first kind of thing I'm gonna do with him. Right? So now I'm going to go and look at some more Jafar heads. What will I have him do? What shall I have him do? Let's not think about the character. Let's think about what I want him. Let's think about a piece of acting, right? So now why is okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna add that there because that's annoying. So let's open one eye and have him looking here like that. Right, so he would turn and look. So we wouldn't really do much with his body, but I'll show you how we would, which is what will make it real serious animation. Okay. So then after that, we'll probably want him to so you see I'm completely not, now I'm kind of doing my own thing, and I'm gonna really have to look at the model to get this to look like Jafar. Let's have a look at some of these. Okay. They're all kind of the other way, but let's remember what we could about the see, I'm kind of like really gonna have to problem solve here because I'm getting lost, but that's good. You want to get lost. This is gonna come down, this is gonna come up. Right. And he's gonna I'm also going to go away from Andreas's blog and look at some of the other Jafar images from the movie, which will kind of help me. Then here he's going to kind of change his expression because that'll be kind of like a nice. See, this is animating, right? What I'm doing here is I'm animating. I'm not. I'm suddenly like the whole point of this stream was to show you how I draw Jafar, but while I'm then he's gonna kind of think to himself. So then maybe he'll kind of like put his hand over his mouth. I'm gonna do that with my hand. I'm getting too ambitious here. His hand will come in here. And he'll think to himself, The handle go extra long around the beard. And then we're going to get that final pose where he's going to be like, yes. I've got something to work with here. So he'll turn, get annoyed, think to himself, and do that. Right, so these are the rough, let's see how we're doing with this. Things of people talking in the chat. A good prompt writer is a good prompt writer. That doesn't make him a good drawer or animator. No, but they probably got people who were hand-drawn animators writing the prompts, which is what I'm talking about. Like how they probably got it to look as good. He probably knew what he was looking for. He knew the 12 laws of animation. Anyway, I went out to my local Barnes & Noble this past week and bought a copy of Psycho Cybernetics. Excellent. You know exactly what I'm doing, Frank. You can already tell that's a villain type character with these shapes. I'm also a real writer. Awesome. There we go. Okay, right. So now I'm kind of like, I've got an idea of what I want to do. It's very early on. And if I honestly get through these drawings on this stream, knowing what I know of Jafar, I'll be happy. Because he's for example, I animated Chief Powhatan on a stream, and I thought Chief Powhatan was a lot quite easy actually. So I animated this on a stream. Jafar actually feels like she was a lot easier than I thought as well, but Jafar feels deceptively easy when he's actually probably a lot harder. This is probably why I mentioned how much I love Andreas Deja. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the model sheet that I had of Jafar, and we're going to start. We're going to use the original Jafar's character here. So it's very small, and I'll have to probably off stream zoom into these, because this is like a tiny head. It's a full body shot that I'm looking at the moment. But what I'm doing at the moment right now is just enough. So I'm picking out, I'm gonna start drawing these extreme poses that I've picked out. To get this going, right? And I'll speed up as I start to move. So he's got his zygomatic bone here, and his eye shape is this, and we've got his eye closed at the moment there like that, with his eyebrow here. Let's just scribble that in and scribble. I'm not sure. His beard comes here like that. Yeah, I'll scribble that in. A little bit too much of that there. There we go. Gonna come down here. Got that clean straight. So you can see, Cameron, how I'm letting go of the line, but I'm still, as I'm making these drawings, I'm still seeing where everything joins. That's what I'm searching for. It's like seeing where everything joins. So these first few are gonna be a little clunky for me as I'm drawing, just basically eyeballing. Now we have got his arm is in line with the back of his turban, so we're gonna have hair like this. And he's got another bit of cloak coming there like that. There we go. We've got something like this. Now the back is, if I'm going to keep this going, I'm going to keep this. See, Cameron, I'm trying to find where that joins, right? Very important. Very important. These little subtleties are going to make the world of difference to your drawing. Now this is actually a triangle, but I'm going to round it off, right? So I'm going to round it here, and I'm going to round it here like that. So we've got something like that. And then he has this, not sure, it's quite difficult from this angle. I'll get it, I'll understand it more as I start to go to close-ups of Jafar, but it's good because I'm using my brain and it'll be revealed to me. So we're going to come up here and down to the back. Right here like this. There we go. That's it. All right, so we have got a start, a rough kind of start of our first pose. Just really emphasize these features. Okay. I'm gonna really just lock the head. I'm not gonna do that to anywhere else, just the head, because I'm focusing on the head. That's what I want. Now, let's just have a check of that in inverse, not looking too bad. All right, let's move on to the next pose. Now, this was purely from my imagination. Any tips on how you draw so loosely and fast? One of those poses would take me 7 minutes. Well, it took me about 7 minutes, I'm thinking. My biggest advice to people wanting to be fast is do not try to be fast. Do not try to be fast. Right? The way to be fast is to have understanding. I can't remember the verse, but it says, let him who have understanding, all right? Is the truth, right? Understanding is the truth, right? And when you really know how to do something, that's when your fast is an effect of the cause of understanding, right? Which is why I keep talking about the real animator rules and the laws of animation. So remember, I gave myself a little bit of understanding of Jafar at the very start, right? Going from memory, I just gave myself a little bit of understanding. Now I'm still new to it, but already I've got that understanding. But then it's not just that makes me fast. There's again, the knowledge of a head, right? I'm going to do this for the more than 100th time, right? There's the frontal bone hair. There's the nasal bone hair. There's the zygomatic bone hair. There's the nasal cavity. There's an ethmoid, a vomer, and a sphenoid, right? And there's the maxilla bone. Now there's even 4 incisors, 2 canines, 2 premolars, arguably 3, but 2 wisdom teeth, right? So there's also a temple bone here, a parietal bone at the back, a parietal bone up here, an occipital bone at the back. There's a there's a mandible bone here, right? So this is understanding, right? Now, this nasal bone can come out here, and this front bone can come out here, and this jaw bone can come out here, and this will change slightly, right? This is understanding of structure. There's also understanding of the hip and waist lines, right? Let's make this a perspective drawing, right? Understanding of the hip and waistline. So this is going this way, this is going this way. All of these things are what give you the ability to be fast but good, right? That's what you want. You don't want to be fast and fake like the replicants who are playing with AI, because what are they if they're not trying to replicate what we do, right? They want to be fast and they think what they're doing is good, but we all know it's fake, you know. We all know it's fake. So the reason we celebrate athletes is because the athlete has put the work in, and we celebrate those people who put the work in. We celebrate those people who are true examples of excellence. They excel at what they do, right? We wouldn't celebrate unless you were just, you know, extremely vacuous. You wouldn't celebrate robots having a race, right? It's almost like back when kids used to play wind-up toys, right? Or you've got like the guy living in his basement at 50 playing NFL, you know. He's the only one invested in it. There are real NFL athletes out there doing it for real, right? They are excellence and they're being celebrated for excellence. And this guy, good luck to him. I wish him the best. In fact, I don't mind doing that sometimes myself. But he's often ridiculed. Ridiculed because he's the last thing on earth that exemplifies excellence, right? So again, the real animator is the one with real knowledge, real know-how, and real ability. Real deal. So it might seem like a lot of effort, time, and focus or discipline to get fast good, and which is why the majority want to be fake, right? They want to be fake. They want to be replicants. They want to replicate what you do, and they want the celebration, but in reality they're like our friend here, who's going for another biscuit in the jar with bucket of chips. He's happy. I don't want him to change because he's happy. Please understand, I'm not mocking him. He's happy. But it's about what you want. Do you want this, or do you want excellence, right? Excellence takes work. Dedicated, focused work which builds satisfaction. Satisfaction. And it's the kind of satisfaction money can't buy. Do you know why? Because it's self-satisfaction. So, being fast is an amazing effect of somebody who has got the cause of acquiring understanding, acquiring knowledge. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a Jafar study. Hopefully you like that answer, Saranguran. I'm not sure if your name is Sarah, but if it is, that's my daughter's name. So awesome. Yes, work on understanding. That's the one. Let's have I'm now going to look for a front view. That's a good angle. That's a good angle. That kind of suits what I want. It's kind of going the other way though, but it's the expression I want. So I'm gonna have the light box on just vaguely, just to kind of get what I want going, but I'm gonna put in squash and stretch here, right? So now here I'm gonna keep his eyes. I'm gonna have his eyes like this. He's gonna be looking the other way. I'm gonna have to look at another image. Still all too new for me, but this is enough for me to work with right now. Now here, again, we're gonna have to work out the way his turban changes angles, right? So we're gonna have to kind of like try to use the secret science of shape simplification to get a convincing angular turn. So I've got this here, but I've also got to flip from my previous drawing. So right now I'm looking at the reference, but then I'm having to change the reference as I'm thinking about my previous drawing and it relating, because it all has to relate, right? See, again, a fake replicant would have simply typed a prompt into AI to turn Jafar turns his head and looks suspicious, right? That's all right. The guy playing NFL will be taking a cookie, biting. The crumbs will be falling all over his ripped jeans, while the people training NFL will be failing, making mistakes, crying and getting frustrated about not being good enough, working hard, putting in those moments in the training. But it's both are happy. One may not seem happy, but one will get a delayed reward. The other is very happy that he will never get up and move, and his whole life will be spent doing that. And as long as he's happy, that's good, right? So it's all about what you want that makes you happy, right? It isn't about judgment. I got to be clear on that. We're not. This is why I'm not against people who use AI, and I'm trying to tell the people who will watch my content, don't let yourself don't waste your energy on something that you have no interest in or you dislike, right? It makes somebody else happy. Good, let them be happy. Let them be happy. All right. I'm gonna make some hard shape choices here, because this is all about, see, people have forever been obsessed with volume, maintaining volume, but I'm understanding how to maintain volume is knowing how to lose volume and in certain places and redistribute it in others, right? So I'm taking my time with this drawing, because this drawing right here is foundational to my being able to understand this character. Because if I'm honest with you, I don't understand him yet. I may be able to pull off and talk about Andreas Deja's construction, but I'm not particularly confident quite yet. Right? So this drawing here is my opportunity. Now listen to the words that I'm saying. Frank makes movies. It's my opportunity to make mistakes. Right? And this, we've been taught at school that that's bad. People laugh at you. You made a mistake, mate. They laugh at you, right? But then this is the same guy who's playing NFL, right? Because the biggest mistake he'll make is lose this game, right? Whereas these mistakes are all you trying to find your way around a maze, right? And when you find your way to the end of the maze, it's almost like reaching the end of the rainbow with the crock of gold, right? And that's kind of like what the Greek story of the labyrinth, Theseus and the Minotaur, is all about. These people laughing at you, telling you making mistakes is bad. They are the ones that will end up wishing they could do what you do. And who cares? You're not doing it to get back at anybody. You're doing it to bring out what you know is inside you. Right now, these eyebrows are This is good. I'm starting to get a little bit more confident with this character. Now I'm going to change the expression. Let me go on to another look for other Jafars. Jafar, right. I'm just going to look for other Jafar faces that are in the movie because the blog is good, but he hasn't got the expression that I really want to see right now. You know what? I just have to use that. Okay. You just have to use that. Right. As I said, it's making mistakes doesn't feel nice. Trust me, especially when you're live, right? And you want to create a sense of that you know what you're doing. But that's why I like to do these. I like to put myself through this. It's mental conditioning. Mental conditioning. That'll really help you. Okay, that's good. Now we want that zygomatic coming along there. Now, I'm going to redo this drawing, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't matter if I take time. I'm quite happy to take a bit of time because I'm missing the opportunity for good squash and stretch because I'm worried about model, right? The squash and stretch is what makes this character. And again, a fake animator, especially one who doesn't draw, a replicant, they would be happy with this particular pose that AI would have given them right now, because it looks like, oh, that animates, he's turning his head, that's pretty good. But for me, that's just, the rough is too strong. I don't want it to guide me. For me, not good enough. I really want to push that squash and stretch, right? So I'm learning more about the character, so I'm gonna bring his mouth right down. Like Andreas Deja was one of the lucky what they call Renaissance animators, and which is why I really love the guy. He absolutely adores the Nine Old Men, and he studied under them. And my brother, actually, when Lilo and Stitch came out, my brother went to LA, and my brother with his business associate at the time, they contacted Andreas Deja and asked him, hey, we'll buy you lunch, right? And what a gentleman. He could see that my brother and his business associate were basically two kids with no money, and they were paying to go to this really upmarket restaurant, just so they could get to meet the legendary Andres Deja. And he immediately took the bill from them and put it under his arm and didn't let them touch it. This is what my brother was. I never had the pleasure of meeting Andreas Deja, but my brother tells me the story. And Andreas drew a little. My brother bought me an Art of Lilo and Stitch book, and Andreas Deja drew a little Lilo in there. But I digress. The reason I'm bringing this up is my brother was raining down so much praise on the man, and he was so embarrassed to be receiving that praise. And he said to my brother that compared to the Nine Old Men, compared to Milk Carl, he's nothing. And I think I love Milk Carl, and I do think Andreas is just like all of us. He's like, we all have our heroes and inspirations. And yes, I do believe Andreas is not as good as Milk Carl, but not as good meaning what? You know, Andreas Deja is still an extremely great animator. One of the best. And it's a great pleasure for me to be drawing this. But that character in him, that love and affection and acknowledgement of the mastery of the Nine Old Men and Milk Carl was just it's just so rare as people are now moving, like time has moved on, and animators are looking up to other animators, and that connection with those original founding fathers of great classical hand-drawn animation is getting lost. But Andreas Deja was one of those who was fortunate enough to be trained by those guys and spent a lot of time with them. And his whole blog is just about Ollie and Frank and Milk Carl and Art Babbitt, and all these, Wolfgang Reitherman, Les Clark, Ward Kimball, all of them, Mark Davis, John Lounsbury. And as I'm doing this particular Jafar, the reason all this is, I'm bringing up all of this is I'm remembering when I was making studies of the master that is John Lounsbury. And that's why I want to redo this drawing. And I'm going to say, you know what? I want to push the squash and stretch, because when I look at a Chief Powhatan in Pocahontas, or I look at the later Disney Renaissance stuff where they try to do all these newer kind of designs that are moving away from the classic Disney look. It's a very stiff sort of animation by comparison to the you know, Aladdin still very much has that that feeling. As I'm drawing this character, I can see the John Lounsbury style expressions. It's just, so I'm wanting to channel, although I'm channeling the master Andreas Deja while I'm doing this, I'm wanting to channel the great John Lounsbury. What, you know, Lounsbury would have really pushed that stretch in the mouth, as Andreas Deja would have. So let's try that. Let's go for that. Let's put more squash and stretch in that mouth, but just enough not to create a terrible volume issue with the character, but to give more life to it, give it that hand-drawn, real animator feel, which is what is missing, particularly especially as people are now inspired by anime and the fast-moving Sakuga cameras, because the fast-moving Sakuga camera thing is easily recreated with AI, because it's a lot about the illusion of a 3D space with a character moving fast around it, you know. The anime people love the fact that somebody drew it, and that is amazing that somebody drew that. But it's the subtle nuances of very human performance, and the cartoon exaggeration, which is really what's going to help with this guy, help create more real, authentic animation. So here I've got this. I'm not completely happy about this Durban change here, but it'll do for now. Let's just mirror that and see if I can. You see, Cameron, how I'm trying to make all the shapes hook up. That's pretty good. We got a nice little subtle head action there. Let's just see how we're doing in the chat. 1 hour 35. You can already tell I'm also real. Okay, that's the question. Yes, I'm Sarah. You named your daughter greatly. Yeah, my daughter is Sarah, but Sarah, they're derivatives of the same name. Yeah, amazing. Oh, you could just call me AMB Animation. The guy in the basement will never tell you how many times he had to redo a level. He'll just brag about how he beat the game. Well, I mean, that's the extent. I mean, even being a good gamer is, you got, the guy in the basement could be the Street Fighter player Daigo, but Daigo was better built. So everything takes skill, everything. Yes, I am kind of using the guy as a basement as a kind of like, don't be like that, but I want to stress that I'm not. It's not about poo-pooing on the guy in the basement. It's just about getting you guys to understand that you want to draw, you want to animate. Don't worry about the people who don't want to, who are happy doing what you consider to be kind of lackluster, inauthentic, fake stuff. All right, now we're gonna do a take. So I'm gonna have a look at this. I'm gonna now look at another. We've got another angle here, so I'm gonna try and do more squash and stretch. So I'm gonna, each time I'm getting more familiar with the character. Oh, he's got it there in his rough. You see his rough gestures. You see how, I'll just bring it on ever so slightly. I hope my stream doesn't get, you see how his roughs look? Right? This is the guy, this is his design, searching for the character. Right? I'm even looking at those to get an idea of what I can do with the character, right? So it just gives me something to look for. Now I'm going to look for other poses of him. Okay, that's pretty good. Where's that really angry one? Yeah, I don't want him to open his mouth as of yet, so his nose moves a little bit, right? So I've got to be careful with this one because he's about to turn into a snake. But it helps me find my own way of constructing the character. That's an interesting mouth shape. So we've got it down the middle like that. So I'm focusing on these shapes as I'm doing this, right? To find the expression. To find the expression that I'm looking for. I've got to try and find what his eyes closed will be like. I've got something like this. Gonna bring that beard up, down, up like that. There we go. Almost feel like I'm drawing Rasputin from so here we've got the center line. Here I've kind of gone off the center line a bit, but I'm gonna get that back in there. Now I've got to keep an eye on what I'm doing with his body. Let's move this way. Swing this the other way. His shoulders will be about there. See, this is where I've got to try and figure this out, because it's not strictly anatomical in the shoulders. This is coming here. It'll help me get the angle of that. Gone a bit quiet, because again, these drawings that I'm creating are a little bit different to the way that I did these, because I was relying mostly on other people's images. Here I'm wanting to kind of like create my own expressions and poses of the character from the get-go, which is very ambitious, but at the same time, see here I'm gotta keep that in line with that there. And we've got this here like this. Alrighty. So I've got something. But it needs a lot of work. So I am going to make it this color. We're not doing too badly. We're not doing too badly. I'm going to find another image of Jafar, which will help me. Well, that's a good one, actually. That'll help me a little bit more. That's good. Kind of helps me with his headdress. This headdress should be longer, actually, but never mind. It's probably an inconsistency in the film. Some images it's not so long, and in others it is. So here, I'm gonna bring this up. Now, Cameron, see how I'm gonna try and join the two of these. Like that. That's good. The headdress, we're gonna kind of change that angle just a little bit. This image is helping a little bit with that. I'll bring that down. This can actually go here like this. Okay, we can have that there like that. So I'm focusing on the outline shape, the silhouette now, as I'm making these characters, this character more the model. Now, arguably, because this is a live stream and I'm kind of demoing this, I'm spending a lot more time on each expression pose than I would, if I was actually doing the movement. I'm treating this, although what I'm doing seems to be of an extremely high standard, I'm treating it like I would if I was doing a layout posing job for a straight to video feature, and I was one of the big boys that was gonna have to pose out a load of scenes so that we could get through the movie, because the animation is being sent to a studio of people who are not quite competent enough to pull off the kind of performances that I would do. Because there are certain levels to ability in animation. So I would just do this and then chart it out, and it would be sent overseas, and they would kind of do their best to give it that feel. And it would be really well drawn poses, but it would still lack the essential things that would make it a really good piece of animation. So it's not just about being able to draw something by hand. The real animator ethos is so much more than just being able to draw by hand. It's extremely important. I'm just focusing on this to perform, to give a performance, right? You don't expect daytime drama, like melodramatic soap opera actors, to be in big, high budget psychological movies, right? It's not in their pay grade, right? They don't have that ability to perform. It's the same with animation. You're a performer. It's performance. And again, I go back to the whole fake AI thing is basically people who are prompting an AI. They are not performers, and they never will be. They're not performers, they never will be. And which is why they're using the AI is giving them stolen material with a new coat of paint on it. Right? It'll go and take a head turn from the Aristocats and put it on the illustration of whatever it is they're trying to put it on. Okay, so I've got between here and here. Now what I'm going to do to make sure that these two don't lose, I'm going to, I don't need to because this is so close, but I'm kind of losing a little bit in volume. That works in inverse fine. So we're going to beef it up with the fat line. I'm going to beef this up. I actually am really enjoying my life right now, because I dreamed about animating these characters. These characters are the characters I dreamed about being able to draw and animate. It's why I wanted to be an animator. The film Aladdin, I was 15 or 14, 15 at the time when it came out. And I was absolutely nuts over this film. I wanted to be an animator. I had pictures of Glenn Keane and Andreas Deja on my wall. The Art of Aladdin book was being thumbed. And of course, this to me, I talk about Milt Kahl and Ollie Johnson and Frank Thomas and Mark Davis and Wolfgang Reitherman and John Lounsbury, etc., etc. But if I'm honest, as a little kid, I wanted what was, I understand, I wanted what was being popular, what was big at the time. And I wanted to be, ooby doo, I want to be like you, right, with that stuff. And of course it was placed on a pedestal. And I never, even though I sound quite cocky to some of you guys, quite arrogant, I never had the self-belief that I would ever get to the level where I would be worthy of drawing and animating these characters. And one day, I got a job to help a studio get a commission from Disney to do a Make-A-Wish the Foundation, for the Make-A-Wish Foundation with the genie from Aladdin. And they asked me to do the bid for it. And I worked really hard. I took a line from the movie Hook, I broke it down, and I animated the genie. We didn't get the bid because Eric Goldberg actually animated it for himself. So who better to animate the genie than the guy who created it, right? Well, one day when I was really down in the dumps, I asked one of my contacts who had been at Disney and worked with Eric Goldberg, look, can I please have Eric Goldberg's email? I promise I won't tell him you gave it to me, and I just want to send him my genie test. I just want to know, could I have cut it on Aladdin? Because I honestly, I was doing CGI at the time because the industry was changing and it was getting harder to find a job, and I briefly had got a job in CGI and I was very depressed. I hated animating in CGI. I was going to the toilet to sleep in the studio. I was going to go and I kept falling asleep at my desk. Now I'd go to the toilet and sleep in the toilet for maybe 10-15 minutes and try to wake myself up. And I got the message from Eric Goldberg replying, and he said he was very impressed with my work, and he said there are a few things that I would tell you to change, but I'd do that with most animators working under me, and you would have cut it. You would have easily been in my genie unit, and that was a life-changing moment for me. Just reading the words from somebody who I put on a pedestal and really admired and looked up to, saying that I could have done it was a life-changing moment for me. But now, as I'm doing what I'm doing and I've got to the level that I've got now, where I can come on a live stream and effortlessly knock out these, that whether it's the Beast, whether it's Captain Amelia from Treasure Planet, whether it's Chief Powhatan from Pocahontas, I can effortlessly knock out this stuff while talking away. But I'm having so much fun because, boy, do I love these characters. Boy, I mean, to be able to draw Jafar and animate Jafar and do it well it's such a satisfying experience. I can't tell you how enriching it is. And this is why those of you who are getting into real animation or hand-drawn animation and are going through the motions to be able to do this stuff, it's absolutely, you're gonna feel it too. You're gonna, maybe there's at this moment in time you're thinking, to be able to do stuff like this, or to be able to do some of the anime that you guys are absolutely crazy for, maybe you're thinking, you'll never get to that level. I'll never get to that level. But I thought I would never ever get to this level where I'd be on a live stream, basically just waffling away and bashing out, I have to say, a really cool looking scene with Jafar. There is hope for you guys. If I can do it, you can do it. Simple as. Now I'm gonna get his eyes big here, and I'm gonna kind of create the expression that I want to create, and then I'm going to, oh, there's a terrible rainstorm going on at the moment. Then I'm going to I saw him with his mouth angry and open. But I may have to make that one up. Okay. Let's try that. Now his head is way big here, but I'm gonna go with it. It's a squash and stretch. It's part and parcel of what this is all about. So we're gonna turn him around. So I'm gonna turn him around in my own way. I'm gonna imagine this is a 3D shape. I'm getting more and more kind of confident now, so I'm gonna imagine this is a 3D shape. Turn him around here like this. I'm gonna have a turban here. There we go. Right, so he's looking kind of huge, but I really wish I could see his open mouth. Bear with me, I'm just looking for him, a good image of him. Can't quite find one that I want. So I'm gonna have to use a combination of what I've got. Right. So the eyes I'm gonna take from, he's too snake-like in that, but it'll have to do. All right. I'll have to kind of, let's keep there like that. Not the expression I want, but we'll find it. We'll find it. Oh, this is a little bit big. That's interesting with his front lip. Let's try that. Bottom lip. Interesting mouth shape. Okay. Let's try that. Let's make the diamond of his mouth off the edge there like that. We're getting something. See how fun this can be to make mistakes? See how... So that beard on the reverse would go back, forward, and under. Like that. There we go. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, like that. God, I used to drive my school teachers mad singing Jafar songs. Prince Ali, yes it is he, but not as you know him. Read my lips and come to grips with reality. His personality flaws give me adequate cause to send him packing on a one-way trip where his prospects take a terminal dip. His assets frozen, the venue chosen, the ends of the earth. Hoo-hee, so long, ex-Prince Ali. Excuse me, I just kind of went back into the old... You see how it's programmed in the subconscious? Haven't sang that for years. 15, 16-year-old, reading the CD lyrics, memorizing it all. I always found it hilarious when he says there's a new order now and it is you who will bow before me. And the Sultan was actually getting into the motion to bow before him. And I think Jasmine says, no, we will never bow before you. Funny stuff. Funny stuff. Okay, let's see. I don't know. I don't think there's anything going on in the chat. The last comment is still from Zedpo. So I've still got people watching, I think, but I'm not sure. So no questions, nothing. So I'm just having a look in the chat. Nothing going on there, but we'll press on. So we've got the... Yeah, that works. That works. We're getting something. We're getting something. But his eyes are not quite there. I want his other eye to be bigger. I really want this eye to bulge. We need the eyes to be a little closer together. That's something about this character. Super cartoony. His eyes, we want them to be closer together. Like that. That feels more like the kind of expression I want. Here we go. I do like this. This is something I've learned. We can really play with his front lip to get these really exciting mouth shapes. That. In here, the bottom lip. Come around here like that. So you see, Cameron, what I'm doing here, my friend, is you can see that I'm making less confident strokes with the with the with the pen, but I'm still looking where they're all connecting, how they're connecting with each other, right? In the way that I showed you in the previous stream. Now here we want that zygomatic bone to be prominent in him like that, even if it doesn't come all the way. We want that zygomatic bone. Can you see how now the volume is also being reined in? We've got squash and stretch happening, but the volume is being he's not, it's more plausible that he hasn't grown in size, and he's just squashing and stretching. Trying to keep these shapes. That'll be the cloak. That'll be the arm. I'll have the arm there. That'll do. Now again, I'm trying to keep everything flowing, Cameron, right? The lines just flowing. So we want to really get, see again here, I'm off. So you want to kind of keep that within a line, which will get that working. So now, Cameron, here we'll look at the thin lines, which is what I tell you. When you use thin lines and not everything will work and look more subtle and artsy-fartsy. But I'm going to go and heavy that line in. Now I'm going to, let me put it on the chat. Alpha Proto already subbed. When I find your furry rule 34. Okay. You know, there's so much more to me about that. You'll have to forgive me because I'm an old timer. I'm in my 50s almost. And that means I'm a Generation X, right? Now, Generation X, we had characters like Rebecca Cunningham, Gadget from the Rescue Rangers, characters in Animal Olympics, things like that. And so this whole furry thing, I get it. It's something for the younger generation to talk about, but I'm just getting used to being identified as that by you guys, right? So that's cool. But I don't even know what Rule 34 is. I had to, like, I saw a lot of comments on it on my Gracie Goodbear work, and I kind of found out what it was. But here's the thing. Again, I'm so kind of glad I grew up when I did, because we never really had so much things being placed in a box. We just had stuff that we thought was cool, and we did what we thought was cool. So the whole kind of pin-up cartoon bear, I'm still doing that. That's the project that I'm working on at the moment. So if you'd like to donate, there's a link in the description, and you can help me get through it. We've had some amazing donations. Alexander Pantin, Charlene Giles, thank you so much. Akao, Anthony, Frank Makes Movies. We've had some amazing donations that all help. Thank you so much. So this stream is more about giving back to my core audience who want to learn how to do the kind of animation that I do, like real animation. So it's so funny because some people were accusing that Gracie Goodbear of being AI animation, but I don't think they actually clicked on my channel and actually looked at what I do or what I'm about, and they're too busy reacting from the programming of however they've been told to feel regarding such content, without actually seeing that no, this guy is actually doing real hand-drawn animation, and not only is he doing it, he's inspiring and helping and sharing those techniques with others so they can learn how to do it too. In this increasingly fake, replicated world that is being built around us. Do you want to be an ornament in the replica, or do you want to be an authentic expression of your inner reality? That is like a light, a beacon of light shining. This rainstorm outside is quite loud. I wonder if you guys are picking it up on my stream. If you are, I do apologize. Now this is a really, this was one of the drawings that I was actually fearing to make when I roughed it. I was thinking, how am I going to make this? I've got it in my head, but I don't have enough material to go by of the Google image search. But somehow, some way, I found it. I've got a cool image. Got a cool Jafar that works in inverse there. There we go. Every time I think of the move me, it reminds me of Shantae. I don't know what Shantae is. Okay, right. How are we for time on this stream? How long is this taking me, by the way? Okay, 2 hours, 12 minutes. So we started drawing 45 minutes into the stream. So 1 hour, 15 minutes. We got some really nice, strong key poses, but we're still going. Now we're going to close. I may just stick an in-between in there. Let's stick an in-between. Let's do some in-betweening. Right, let's talk about this. Now, this is one of those things where I would really want to think about having a... He's already gone down into the take, but I want to squash him even more. And I'm going to have him... He's going to be from a front view. Now I'm going to kind of like... This reminds me of Thief and the Cobbler Zigzag for some reason. I'm gonna have his teeth like this. There'll be a bit of drag on that beard. Mm-hmm. A bit of drag on the beard, maybe a bit too much drag, but we won't worry about that for now. The nose will be here. I'm gonna have his eyes here. So I'm really going back to what the original instructions of how to construct the character were, as I'm figuring this out. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. See what wonder squash and stretch does to an animated character like this. Now, we're gonna bring Let's bring it even higher. Right. As that turns the other way. Some of this is going to have to be a cheat. Now I'm not even looking. And I'm going to have to look. But I'm slowly starting to find my way with Jafar completely. So we've got something like this. I'm going to get angry in a minute. Yeah, by having it come extra higher and tilt downwards. So I'll explain that on this pass, what we're going to do. Let me look for an image of Jafar baring his teeth. I did see one. Jafar with his teeth clenched. There we are. Okay, we've got a front view. We'll use that. So I'm gonna think of this as the mask of the eyes, right? But I'm gonna bring those eyes down. I'm gonna get him more in a squashed eye position. Gonna really bring those eyebrows down. The nose is going to be favoring this side. So you pick the side that you're going to favor when you're making certain expressions. The zygomatic is going to come out. This is where we're going to put some squash and stretch in the mouth. Very flat, but by design. I'm gonna have a little trail of that beard. Maybe it wouldn't really do that, but I'll just put a little bit of, open it out a little bit, have a bit of fun with it. He's not really, he's just drawing lines for the teeth, but I'm going to give him his 4 incisors and his canines. I'm gonna have a little bit of fun. Let's put a little bit of a bottom line. We've got, want to kind of indicate that there's a slight, really feels like Rasputin sometimes. Although Rasputin came after this, way after. I say that because of course I was in my later years, like in my teens and early 20s, I loved Andreas Deja and Glenn Keane, but there was always the Don Bluth undertone, and the fascination for Bluth in me. So this turban from this view would not be like that. His front view turban comes behind his head. So I've got to have it coming behind the head. It's gonna be lower. So there's a reason I wanted to do this in between, because it's challenging. This would have to be lower. Don't have an image of his turban directly from the front, but we've got the side things that make it. Now, I want everything to be kind of arching down, like so. If this was a 3D mesh, right, I would want something like that to happen. That. So this is not feeling, that's the face is still not feeling too model. It may need some revisiting. So this will have to turn the other way. So that'll be a quick movement, turning the angle on that. Okay. Right, so that's the breakdown. So I'm gonna heavy this in. But the eyes are off. Let's give them a bit of the Lounsbury Dutch to hopefully kind of bring some not gonna have his mouth as wide as I put it. I'll come and look at the chat in a minute, in case anybody's said anything. So we got this. Feels a bit better. That's a bit better. I'm gonna. I will. So you see, Cameron, I'm doing exactly what I tell you to do, right? I'm trying to make everything exactly here. I'm gonna flip it. Everything line up. Now this turban should be behind his head. That's what'll give him his model. We need to bring its volume down. I'm gonna have this here. This is where the older me would have been really struggling with this drawing because, well, the younger me, should I say, because I would be trying to put too much anatomy and trying to get that down angle too anatomically accurate, because the younger me would be wanting to prove that I know anatomy and to prove that my drawing, this is how it would be like. But this is 2D hand-drawn animation, and the whole point of some of this stuff is to be designery and have appealing shapes. That's better. All right, so I'm going to just tidy this drawing up a bit, because it's going to be one of those drawings that are a little bit off model, but it'll do. What are we doing in the chat? Still here. Thank you, AMB. I heard your story is very inspiring. My pleasure. Thank you. Awesome work on your channel. Hey, Rackatoons. Thank you for watching live. Great to have you here. Thank you. After seeing it, AMB animate, you're not going to want to miss a stream. Thank you. Thank you. Alpha Proto already sub. Thank you. Every time I think of the movie, okay, I remember that. I have a question. In your page on the free view, some videos say are blocked. Is that normal? Oh, the free view was linked to my YouTube channel. And basically I haven't updated Freeview for a while, but some videos on my YouTube channel I've removed because what happens is, you can see I create so much content, so much live content, and then I edit that live content and then repost it, that everything starts to get cluttered. And of course, YouTube is constantly changing and putting some videos forward and other videos not forward, and so I have to take a look at my channel and unfortunately look at the view count and to see what is it that YouTube is what are the videos that are working on YouTube. Well, I feel I've had some really good videos that didn't work on YouTube, but then they're just cluttering up the channel. And I'm always creating great free content like this. So maybe some of those videos on Freeview are now no longer on YouTube. Because the Freeview is just my YouTube channel stuff that you can watch on my website, hand-picked ones. So my bad, I haven't gone to the website and updated Freeview for a while. If you're sub to me on YouTube, you can go to the live section of the of my channel, or the the video section. I don't really do shorts. I don't do short form content. I think short form content are for the replicants and the people who are, more interested in quick fixes like AI. To be able to do real animation, you really have to have a lot of patience, a lot of dedication, devotion, focus. And if you can't sit through even a 20-minute video, forget about sitting through a 4-hour video, So short form content, people looking for quick tips and quick fixes, I don't consider it to be real. So I don't really create shorts. But if you can find a lot of nice, great stuff on the other sections. But you are quite right. I'd rather people go to the Real Animator Training website and view content on there instead of on YouTube. So I think I'll have to go and take a look and update that section of the website. So thanks for bringing that to my attention, Sarah. I am very grateful to you for that. Thank you. The Freeview stuff was a lot of the older live streams that I did when I was making my own short, Little Red, I think. Of course, some of that, I'm always, one of the fascinating things, even if you join my training library and watch, you'll see that I have grown so much as an artist myself. In spite of having 20 years of experience in the animation industry as a head of story, as an animation director, in all these lead positions, one of my reasons of leaving the industry is because I felt my standard was dipping. So I revisited the fundamentals and restarted studying the nine old men, and I started training people in the fundamentals as I was doing it, and suddenly my work has accelerated far beyond it ever was in the industry. So a lot of the newer content I'm creating is for the Freeview stuff, because you're not really going to learn how to really do it through watching something like this, because this is such an advanced piece of animation that I'm doing that it's great fun to watch me do it, but it's foundational learning, fundamentals, basics. We're not even really, I may occasionally mention them, but you're kind of just watching me do a great piece of animation, right? So I think that's the kind of stuff that the YouTube channel is mainly what's popular. My stuff is not the most popular on YouTube, but the stuff that I do that's more popular on YouTube, it features established characters, and you watching it all unfold. So the newer stuff will be probably a little bit better than the older stuff in that regard. But in terms of with the training exercises, it doesn't matter, because you don't need to be able to draw that well to be able to do those training exercises. You don't need to be able to you'll be drawing bouncing balls, stick figures, flour sacks, stick quadrupeds, What I am a lot happier about is somebody mentioned being fast in the chat. And the one thing that I am really happy about the effect of being fast, because I did talk about this earlier, that being fast is just an effect of having understanding. And now I'm able to work extra clean super fast. So we have only 2.5 hours have gone, and I've keyed out a really nice Jafar head turn with a breakdown in it, and it's all very, very tied down. And that is really, really powerful when you want to be a real content creator. Of course, if you're looking for cheap speed, then become a fake animator, become a replicant, and take up AI. But of course, the people in the chat or the people watching my content are not really wired that way, so it's kind of irrelevant to mention it. So, now we're gonna close his mouth, and I want to close his mouth with his teeth here. So this is a lot of fun. I'm gonna do it without the light box. Oh, we got something going on in the chat now. I feel he might be referring to YouTube blocking some of your videos in countries, but I could be wrong. No, I don't think my stuff's gonna be blocked in countries. It's not that kind of stuff. You know, I stay out of politics, I stay out of religion, I stay out of all of that stuff. It's nothing but trouble. It would be embarrassing to retract my comments. That's okay. Thank you for letting me know. Shame some of those videos on free look really insightful. Well, the wealth of info you put in your long form videos, shorts wind up being useless. Yeah, they literally are. I thought, can I make quick real animator tip shorts? But I don't like the whole vertical screen thing. I picture a time where cinema will be vertical, if there ever is one, because cinema is virtually dead at the moment. They've got to think of a gimmick to bring it back. But that kind of stuff just doesn't excite me or interest me, and it's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for a Jafar reference that I could perhaps use. No, that's the best one, so let's stick with that. Are there any more? Yeah, there's this. Oh, there was a nicer mouth shape that I could have used there, but oh, that's kind of good. That's good. So here one thing I stopped talking about, but I never really use. People should not really be using the light box when they're animating. Now you've seen me with it on vaguely, but that's only really because I need to have kind of some idea of my arc. But with a drawing like this, there's going to be a big change. There's a big movement from this open mouth to this squashed mouth. So I'm going to I'm actually going to use this expression complete. This is the apart from the very first frame, this is the first time where I'm just. Now you see, when you break this down, you want the lip to go up, but it's going to come back down because everything's kind of like samey. This is this way, and this is this way. So the breakdown, we want it to kind of squash and stretch a bit the other way, right? But I'm kind of jumping the gun. I don't think I'll get time to do that breakdown here. This Gonna come round about here like that. Bring the chin up. A lot of fun, so much fun, man. I can't stress. See, that's another thing, which is why you should not worry about the fakers. Because as I'm sitting here drawing this, it's probably why I could never stand being in CG, being a CG animator. I actually was the animation director of Lego The Legends of Chima, which was a CG animation series, the season 1. But I drew everything in small notes and made video recording of myself. I know how to animate in the machine, working with step tangents, switching to spline, worrying about gimbal lock and all these things. So I know my 3D. But I hated it because I want to draw. There's nothing more satisfying than drawing these shapes and watching them change for me personally. I don't know who. Yeah, of course there are people that find it boring, but I find them boring. It's like who wouldn't enjoy this? Like, why would you want to type it all out? What's the satisfaction in it? There's a bakery near where I live, called the Shallow Bakery or the Swallow Bakery or something like that. I think it's a Swallow Bakery on a street, Swallow Street or something like that. And when you look at the cakes in the window, it looks absolutely mouth-wateringly like the most sweetest, best tasting stuff ever. But when I eat it, it literally tastes of absolutely nothing. And it's such a disappointment, and that's what, to me, I would imagine animating and drawing would be like. If you didn't actually animate and draw. So I really don't get it, but right, so we've got something like this. Now I'm gonna have this, we're gonna bring it up and steady it down ever so slightly. Keep it moving. You see how I'm looking for the change in shape more so than being able to look at it through the light box. Because that's really the real way that you're going to get volume. Now here for the middle line, I will turn the light box on, just so I don't go behind it. That's all. Turn it on here to see where that's trailing behind. Just to give my character. Now you see I've switched to animating in inverse because that'll help me create the balanced drawing when I draw it in. Because at the moment I've been using the reference and I've been flipping and animating, but now it's all got to kind of add up. One of the things I hope to do with encouraging people to be authentic, to be real, to be true to themselves, to their inner nature. Like, because it's the dreamlike nightmare of the artificial fake cloud that you're all being submerged by. It's sending people to sleep. So what I'm trying to do with this is, yes, I'm making it look like it's so easy to animate high grade feature Disney quality animation. Look, I can come on a live stream and I can do all this, and you can do it too. I don't know why when I said that I thought of Timon and Pumbaa going, he's a big pig, you can be a big pig too. All right. But anyway, so it is inspiring, and I want to inspire, but make no mistake, as I said, it takes a lot of time, focus, discipline, and skill to get to this level. And it's worth it because it's a delayed reward. You know, you go and you watch a singer sing and an athlete perform. You go and say you support a football team, a baseball team, a basketball team, a boxer, or whatever. You're going to watch people perform and do something that is outstanding, an outstanding achievement of humanity. But the spell of the screen, of observing the screen and the illusion has completely, the humanity is almost gone now. And people just watching, they believe they're watching stuff that's superior because they've been told it's technology better, and they're so asleep that they're not looking with their eyes and seeing just how inferior and how detached characters are from their environments, how fake sets feel, lighting, everything feels so fake. But the sleeping viewer is being hypnotized and convinced that everything is superior because it's technologically advanced. So learning to use your technology, your human body, to create what is uniquely within your mind's eye is the highest, most sophisticated form of creation. But many people have no value for themselves. And they are celebrating, they are resigned. They are literally resigned to celebrate the efforts of others. On top of that, they now think that they have the ability to do what we do. But the reward is empty, tasteless. It lasts about probably the capacity of their attention span. Then they'll get bored quicker. Those of us who do this, we draw, we continue, we move on to the next one. We're fulfilled through the process. And that's what the difference is. It's very important to not lose sight of that. Right, so we've got an initial head turn here. Now that initial head turn has familiarized me enough with the character It needs to be timed and all that, but it's familiarized myself with the character enough where I can start this bit of hand gesture of pulling the beard and thinking to himself. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, that's the face I want. What are we? How are we in the chat? Had a teacher who used to say that teaching is often more of a learning lesson for the teacher than it is for the student. Absolutely. You're animating Jafar. I'm almost finished. I'm close to finish my Jafar. Yeah, there you are. You're the person, Sweet Cherry Bill, who inspired this stream. So if you like in this stream, thank Sweet Cherry Bill, because on the last live stream, I'm not sure if you're what gender you are, Sweet Cherry Bill. So I'm gonna just say they. The last live stream they mentioned that they were animating Jafar, and I said, oh, I can help you with that. I'll make a live stream. So it's here for that. Are you aching for some bacon? I like how the shoulder of Jay's costume stays up as Jay moves downward, just a wee bit drag. Adds interest and life to the silhouette. Absolutely. Good. You can already see those things, Frank. So you're saying, how do you time in your head? I put my animation on 4s. No. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That's all right. I've often said this. It's in countless of my free live streams. And okay, let's do some interaction. How many seconds, how many frames are there to 1 second of animation? Type it in the chat. How many frames are there to 1 second of animation? Can we have it? Good. No, Dragon Dreams. Good try, but it's always 24, right? Again, the software is like, even if you're working on 2s, you still think of it as 24. 2s is doubling each, so it becomes 12. Yeah. So, okay, so we always want to think, and there I go. Duh. Right. We always want to think in terms of how many seconds is it going to take? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and so on and so forth, right? So we need to be able to manage that. So don't delete your comment. Mistakes are good. Mistakes, you'll never forget this now, my friend. Celebrate. You're actually getting something more out of this than other people because you made a mistake. You actually did something really good. Don't let anybody ever tell you mistakes are bad. And don't try to undo the mistake. Stand on it. Here's a mistake. I'm going to stand on it. Here's another mistake. I'm going to stand on it. I'm going to be making mistakes all throughout my life. And in the end, I'm going to be super high with the trophy in my head when I finally get it right. And I'm going to be super experienced. All right. So let's talk about how to manage. So let's say that this head turn is going to take, let's say to get from hair to hair is going to take 1 second, right? It's going to take 1 second for Jafar to do that, right? I'm going to do a bit of business. I might do a little bit of anticipation in his mouth. This is far from over, by the way. Right? I'm going to do another stream of how to break this down. Then you see what real animator really is, right? So let's say 1 second to get from hair to hair. So what's half of a second in frames? Can we type it? Can we type it? Yeah. How does James Earl Jones say it in Conan? Yes. There we go. 12. All right. And that's 24. And that's going to be, I don't know, my maths needs to work that one out. Half of 3 seconds is 1.5, so that's 24 plus 12. That's 34, 36, I imagine. Right. So on and so forth, right? But we're just focusing on 24 because it's easy. Now, what is, say we want to say, oh, but 12 frames to get to hair is probably all I can do. So maybe we want to anticipate. And that anticipation will take a quarter of a second. All right. So what is a quarter of a second in frame rates, people, please? Type it. I can almost hear those fingers on the keyboard. Come on, what? There we go, sweet Cherry Bill. 6. And the eye always registers a hold at around a quarter of a second. How many animation courses have you guys paid for where you've actually learned this? I'm giving it to you for free. Okay? And it's my pleasure to do that because it's making you the real deal. All right? That's what a real animator is. So, now when you're timing in your head, you want to keep a window of anywhere between two after a quarter of a second is 8, 2 before is 4, which you like to do everything on 4. 2 before half a second is 10 frames, 2 after is 14, okay? And 24, you've got like 20, 23, or no, 20, 21, okay, 23, 25. So we want to think of 25 when we're timing it like that. So, you know, you got basically like 22 or 26. But I like working 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, right? So if 1 is that, then 25 is actually 24, but that'll confuse you, okay? So, you want to think in terms of 6, 12, and 24 frames. So it's going to take me 12, you know, maybe it'll take me actually about 19 frames to get hair, and I'll have a whole couple of 4-frame holds in there that'll make it last to 24 frames, right? But then I'm going to anticipate, so his head's going to go up on the breakdown. He's going to squash his mouth a little bit. That'll take 6 frames, right? But this is about, see, timing in your head. I'm making it sound easy, but you see how I immediately know what to do to make those frames count? It's because, and this is what the Real Animator Training Library is all about. Real Animator Training, right? It's all about building a foundation of the 12 laws of animation. So in order for you to time in your head, which is the first law, timing, you need to know slowing in and slowing out, right? You need to know where to slow in and slow out. But this all has to go on an arc. So these are the three foundational, first 3 foundational laws of animation. After that, you can then think about your pose to pose, right? Are you doing it pose to pose, or are you working stuff out in straight ahead, right? Then you can think about your follow through, overlap, and drag. Because your follow through, overlap, and drag will echo the timing of the main thing. So his beard is gonna echo that, right? Also the drag in his head action and overlapping action of his head and all that. After that, you're gonna want to think about making everything solid, because you can then manage the body of your work as you continue to get more complex. Otherwise, it'll just be too straight aheady and you'll lose everything. So those are what we call the 6 basic laws of movement. Then you have the 6 laws of life. Now, I mentioned anticipation there, right? That helps me with timing, but it also leads me into another law, And of course, we've got squash and stretch, right, which we're doing all over here. So this is going to help the timing. That's going to also allow us to utilize more frames because we can squash and stretch in and out of them, right? So it doesn't feel like a stiff piece of fake AI animation, right? We've got squash and stretch. We also have, which both of these help us with primary and secondary action, right? Primary and secondary action. So this is a big deal about timing, because if you're just thinking primary action, oh, it's going to take me 1 second to get from here to here, and you just in betweened all that for 1 second, or you held for half a second and then had another 6 drawings, which equal 12 frames, and just in between for 6 drawings and shot it on 2s, it would be a very boring movement, right? And you'll go, oh, well, yeah, that's my second done there. So the primary and secondary action is we need some kind of like real acting in the secondary action. We can use anticipation and squash and stretch to help us do that, right? Then after that, of course, we've got exaggeration, which is, again, we can exaggerate the arc, exaggerate the timing, exaggerate the breakdown, which creates a sense of appeal, which is what is all over this movement, right? And finally, we have the one that it sits all within, which is another word of like saying mise en scene, or everything, the reason for the season, which is staging. So, you know, what kind of mood are you creating? That's the term of the timing here, right? You're even going to time it according to the storytelling that you're doing. So timing in your head, I've made it very simple for you by talking about, well, 24 frames, half a second is 12 frames, a quarter of a second is 6. If you stay around 4 to 6 to 8, you're kind of within that quarter. If you stay from 10 to 12 to 14, you're within the half range. If you stay from 20, anywhere around 20, I would say, to 24, you're within the 1 second range of movement, right? That's easy. The riddle of steel, yes. So that's easy. That's kind of easy. And then the whole timing chart is another thing he's mentioned. The timing chart, the way you have things, linear movement. You can even have it linear on thirds, but when you eliminate a third, that's when you have fun. Or you have it on thirds linear, but you half and slow in and out of one, and then jump on thirds and then slow in towards the end. You can have all kinds of interesting movements to create your timing in your head. And of course, these numbers will say everything. You can have one, and this will be kind of like 13, and this will be 25, right? But then I might say, okay, I will have it all linear. 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, right? And then here we'll jump down and we'll go 15, a big gap. We might, you know, we might want to come out of it on thirds even. We might want to actually have a little favor here and then jump out on thirds and say 15, 17, 19, and then really slow in 21, 23, 25. So there are so many ways of doing that, and as I've said, I've just jumped through this. That's why in the training library, this is a good chance for me to talk about how you really understand this in a proper way. You may grasp it, but we'll go into the basics archive of the Real Animator Training Library. What's going on here? My internet has froze. Oh, there we go. It's up. So we will go into the basics archive of the Real Animator Training Library. So you can click join now if you want to join. I may as well talk about this. You can get the bundle, you can get the starter bundle, or you can get the everything bundle. Excuse me while I sign in so I can show you those training library fundamentals. Right, okay, we are in. So if we go to join the Real Animator Training Library, click join now. You have got the bundles, but I'm just going to talk about the basics. Now, you can buy the basics individually. I've had people who've worked on Ninja Turtles buy the basics. So, nothing wrong with starting at the basics. So if we look at the ball, you're going to learn all about timing charts. And timing, we're going to make a bouncing ball last 1 second. And that's all you're going to do. And that's a 1-hour video, right? And then you're going to learn how to bounce it across the screen, and it's going to last about a second. And you're going to learn how to time a chart within the second. Then you're going to learn about a ball with weight and texture, and it's going to all last about a second. You will then go through a pendulum swing, which, surprise, surprise, probably lasts about a second. It's been a long time since I've done this, but if we jump into anywhere within this video, you can see I'm teaching you how to time the chart and go in detail slowly on how to make a simple swing so you understand these charts. You then learn how to make a pendulum settle to a stop, learning about how to make a pendulum drop and dangle, and how to make a pendulum go through a various sequence of emotions through 3 different parts. Again, all of that is done so you can move a basic shape, nothing complex, nothing like this guy here. You're managing a simple shape and you're learning that stuff, right? After the pendulum series, you will work on walk cycles where you'll learn the different sections of the body, the legs, the body, the head, and the arms. And the cycle will last 1 second, 25 frames for both steps. You will move on to another cycle called the standard walk, which lasts a little bit longer than a second. And you learn about different timing charts for different body parts. Again, you learn the separate body parts in each video, right? But here's where we get fun. We go back to everything lasting just 1 second with the jog cycle. So how can a jog and a walk both have the same length? One's surely faster than the other, right? But it lasts 25 frames for him to do those both steps. Now we move on to the dynamic run cycle. Again, it'll take 25 frames for him to just go through 2 steps. How can that be? How can he walk, jog, and run all on the same timing and it all looks so different, right? So that is the power of what you learn through the basic cycle. Then you learn it from the front view. Then you learn it from the then you learn the run from the front view. You move on to the head turn. A lot of people watch me do head turns like this, and this is what they all want to do. You all want to be here. But if you're honest with yourself, if you're real with yourself, to turn this basic guy's head and keep those 2 dots as eyes in the same place without them jiggling and dancing everywhere is extremely difficult, and you probably are not going to be at the stage where you can probably do that, most of you right now. So that's what this archive gets you prepared, and then you have an over. So we're just going to leave it at that. We're just going to talk about the basics archive. There are tons of other archives here. You move from basics, from the 6 laws of movement to the 6 laws of life and intermediate. You learn anatomy drawing of the human skeleton. You learn advanced animation. You can watch the little previews if you're interested. If you're interested in being the real deal and learning the real things, as opposed to the fake AI bros who are, replicants, then you can go and in your own time, you can go and watch the little previews of these videos. Some of these are really long. This Professional Animation Lectures archive is a 20-minute preview. So, again, these are my edutainment archives, animating a scene from start to finish, how to animate your own film, animation lectures. These are very much like what you're watching me do now. They're what I call edutainment. Great, inspiring, motivational overviews, tips and tricks, dopamine fixing content. But if you really want to really learn, then you're going to have to go through the training archives section. Although the edutainment section is very valuable because you know, a lot of people talk about Snow Bear, but hey guys, many years before, I made a 2-minute film and documented the entire process through 56 live streams, and you can watch that. And I've had that on my archive for years, couple of years at least, like 2-3 years. That's been on in Real Animator Training. So we have got a lot of valuable content. So if you want to watch a film being made from start to finish, you can go ahead and do that there too. More is going on in that one same second. Yes, indeed. All right, so that's the Real Animator Training Library. That's the place where, you know, as I said, if you want to get real, time to get real. Be the real deal. Make it real against the fake replicant world that you're living in. The Real Animator Training Library is the place for you. Right, that's enough of that. That all helps me continue doing what I'm doing, and it helps the movement move forward for those who are joining. It helps maintain the standard of hand-drawn animation. I sponsor my own live streams. And while we're on the whole sponsoring thing, if you're liking my content, if you appreciate what I'm doing, there's a link in the description. You can always donate me if you'd like to support me for that. Right, okay. Now, we have got, this has gone on for 3 hours, so I'm going to very quickly rough out the next few poses, and then I'm going to think about going, because we've been going on for 3 hours. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 poses. So I'm going to kind of like very, very quickly, probably not work in as detailed a way as I was for the first section of the stream, but we're going to, so here I'm going to change its expression, and I found a good one. So I'm turning the light box on merely to help guide me on the distance that I want. But once I've kind of figured that out, once I've kind of figured out what I want, I'm going to turn that this way. Once I kind of figured out what I want, I'm going to turn that light box off, because it's just going to get in my way. So he's going to relax his view. Some of these, his eyes are closer together, some of these reference images, but I'm not going to stick religiously to them. We're going to have him kind of change his expression like he's just realized something. Here I can really enjoy the squash and stretch. So while I have the image that I'm using as reference, this image is not particularly, I don't believe it's an image from the movie. It looks like some dodgy illustration kids coloring book or something, where they've attempted to draw something from the film and killed all the life out of it. So I'm just using it for the slight model reference, but not it's not something that I'm going to stick to. So here I'm going to make that beard just a little bit more subtle. So I'm keeping this stuff rough, like this. The whole thing is rough, but I'm not going to go about drawing it, heavying it the way I was. I want to be extra fast now, right? I want to just get through these poses. Now what I'm going to do subtle before I do that, I need the light box on just to judge the turban a little bit. And now I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to go where it feels from watching the change happening first. I'm going to have that there like that. There we go. That'll do. Now, I'm going to play a little bit with the perspective of his garment. We'll turn it a little bit out. Here's where I will use a little bit of the light box to help with that. There we go. And this will come here. So the light box is more for these small guides, but never for animating. Never for animating. So assistance tool. Right. Or if you're doing super subtle stuff, I guess. Right, so he's gonna go into this pose. So let's have a quick look at how that's gonna work. Now as he comes up into this, I'm gonna have to hold this, right? So we need to break down by, you know, from hair to hair, it's gonna be about 2 seconds. Or 1.5 seconds. You say, well, that's actually only about one in between or two to get to there. No. All right, we're going to hold him there. We may have him breathe in and out in his chest. And then he's going to drop to this. No, wait. Kind of like. So you see, I'm thinking about the performance. Now hair is something where I want to introduce his hand. So I'm going to feel the expression. I'm going to use a slight example of what I've got to go with. See, I'm starting to remember his mouth shape to kind of create my own. Now I'm going to kind of fit his hand . This turban is going to go here. So we're getting rougher and rougher as I'm starting to really search for more character. Now I need to look at Jafar's hands. Now in the blog we've got a hand sheet. It's super rough hands that enable me to. So first and foremost, His hand is gonna come here. Like this. Now I'm going to look at my little face in the corner of my live stream. So it's going to be the outer hand. So 2 fingers on the side like that, and my 2 knuckles under my chin, and a triangle. Ooh, giving myself hand cramp. So the thumb is on this side of the face. We got 2 fingers there. And we got that. So I'm gonna draw my own hand, and then I'm gonna try and put it onto his hand model. So I've got to be very, very. So we've got the knuckle, 1 knuckle there, 1 knuckle there. Then the other kind of little knuckles will sit under there. I got to change it. I had mine a lot wider, but I want to keep. You see, AI would just steal a hand shape from another animation, but I want to keep my own element into this. Now I'm not sure. I think he had a load of things like this. I'm not sure, but I will bring this up. This will go this way. This will come around. Play with perspective there a bit. Like that. Okay. So now I'm going to look at another model of Jafar very quickly. I've seen what I need to see of the hands. Where's the Jafar sleeves? Okay, it's not like that. It wasn't how I thought it was. I may as well make this drawing a little bit more detailed. This will come down. This will be here like this. Just rub that there. Interesting way that they do the eye. I'll have to. He hasn't got any upper lids going on there, so I'll have to look into that. I'll bring that down there like that. Yes, something like that. I will put a little bit of the beard there just to give him a bit of reference point there. Okay. this here like this. You see how even doing this pattern, there's a structure to it, so you can keep that sort of on volume 2. Just create a circle here. Cameron, see how I put it all in a circle? Like that. Makes it work. Let's see how it works in inverse. Yeah, we can make it work. So here he will put his hand in there. Then he will he'll bring the nose up a little bit. We'll kind of keep within this expression as we're doing it. And he's gonna have his finger and his thumb together. See how I just used my own finger and my own thumb? And the other one will be there like that. And those two will be more like that. So it's like a square, like a diamond, keeping within this diamond shape. There we go. That's what we want. So if you're not finding that hand clear, let me very quickly show you what I mean. We got this, and this represents the 2 knuckles, right? This represents the other 2 knuckles. This represents the knuckle of the thumb. You see why bone anatomy is so important? Now we're gonna kind of press this against this. I'm gonna maybe bring the other one in there and hide the other 2 like that. So we have a shape which is something like this. And then anatomy wise, his wrist and his shoulder will be here, so that circle will come off like that. See, and we have a wrist action like that. So this is how it kind of comes together. Now, I was gonna keep his face deadpan and dry, but I'm thinking of, I wanted to squash and stretch his mouth, but I can't help wanting to play. And bringing his head up some. Like this. So then we can bring that beard into play. Right. Now I'm a lot more confident with the character. We can do something more interesting with him like that. Right. And then of course this will go back here like this. You see how looser I'm getting because I'm starting to truly animate more than draw now. So you see how drawing for animation is so much different to drawing for illustration. Because drawing for illustration, you're primarily concerned about, does it look like the character, or is it a nice drawing? Have I got nice shapes? And that's what an animator has to think about too, but an animator has to think about more interesting movement, performance, arcing. So I've made life 1,000 times harder for myself by wanting to do that, right? And then finally, I'm gonna bring this image here just purely for reference, because I'm gonna get lost otherwise. And I think I'll go back to Deja Vu for my last. How am I doing for time? 3 hours 21. Iron Steel. This is so cool. I appreciate the video. Sorry I don't respond much because I do most of viewing on a Samsung Smart TV. Doesn't give me an option. It's Iron to Steel Mr. Bernard Mitchell, because I can only think that I did Cameron and Logan today. So if you are, that's my pleasure, sir. Awesome name. I hate trying to make hands. It's so easy when you know how. It truly is. The secret science of shape simplification. Truly is. Now that's the Jafar expression I like. So I am going to just use this here to bring my body, which is why I like to tie down the animation. I'm gonna bring everything down to about here. Now I know that when I come here, it'll come back there. So the head, the expression that I'm really liking, which is pure Andreas Deja, and it's not cleaned up and it looks so much better with his blue pencil, is this one here. Very devious. Can really recognize that this is the guy that did Scar and Gaston and all those villains. The expression is really, really nice. I'm gonna put this eye up more so than the other eye. I'm gonna bring this one down. Really nice expression, this. Now we've got the coming up here like that. And the beard is gonna be reactionary after he's pulled it. So of course it needs a lot of breaking down to get from here to here, right? But you're seeing the animation process of figuring out, we're doing pose to pose animation here, right? One of those vital laws that I told you about. It's going to help me manage everything. And I'm not so fussed about having it 100% volume match, just close enough. That's all. I just want it to be within range. because a little bit of volume change will actually make the work better, and it'll give it that real hand-drawn edge over the replicant fake animator, faker stuff, which you don't want to be too loud and proud about, right? Wow, you're so smart. You did that all on your own. All right, I'm turning into a villainous Jafar here like this. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. So we're going to come from there to there. So I'm mainly looking now. You see how I turn and rotate this thing around, and then when we settle, we rotate it back. You see, so all these things have been thought about to make this interesting. So this is going to be my last frame. So very quickly, I've just really quickly rushed through those because the stream has been going on for a fair amount of time. As good looking as Gaston is, he had a little butt for a chin. Back in the day, that was considered the thing. No one's quick as Gaston, no one's slick as Gaston, no one's neck's as incredibly thick as Gaston. For there's no man in town half as manly, perfect, a pure paragon. You can ask any Tom, Dick, or Stanley, and they'll tell you whose team they prefer to be on. You can tell I grew up on all this stuff. All right. They said no one's got a swell cleft in his chin like Gaston. So here you can really see the building blocks. So that's my first, I'm going to say we started 45 minutes into the stream. So 1 hour 45 would have been 1 hour, 2 hour 45 would have been 2 hours. We're almost 3. So that's we'll just say that's my first 3-hour play with being somebody who's never really drawn Jafar in my life before. That'll be my first little bit of a play. If I had come into the Walt Disney Studios to save them, to give them a hand, to help them get their act together, because they sure as hell needs me. So I would have done that. And then Andreas Deja would have told me what was all wrong with him and told me to sit down and shut up. Which I would have done so because I love the guy, and I will be all ears to somebody of his experience and his caliber. So this is it. Hopefully you've seen just how much fun you can have with the model sheets online. I have really enjoyed this one. I'm going to actually continue with it on the next few live streams because I think it's worth taking further. The Amelia one kind of bored me a little bit. I didn't really want to continue with that. The Powhatan one I finished, and that kind of bored me a little bit, but it was just fun to have some content created. So I think I will take this one a little bit further because I actually really like Jafar. Those are the words I've been waiting to hear from you. Go save Disney. No, I don't need to save Disney. Disney doesn't need saving. The great things they've produced will always be there. I've no interest. Let me create AMB. You know, let me continue to create AMB stuff, AMB animation stuff that unites and divides many people. But I can't help those who feel divided, but hopefully we're all united in saying that hand-drawn animation is the real deal. It's time to get real. It's time to be real. You know, in the face of, in the age of artificial fake replicants who are honoring themselves honoring themselves and honoring each other. Good luck to them. All the best to them. I wish them joy, happiness, and fulfillment. But it's got nothing to do with what we're doing. It's artificial, it's false, it's temporary. Our will is to draw, our passion is to draw. It's why we do it. And it's what we need to focus on. Because if they're happy being fake, you don't want to be miserable watching fake people be happy. You want to be happy being real. You want to be fulfilled being authentic. So don't really focus on that, what's going on in that world. Just focus on being as real as you can. I've had a look at the chat. This is so cool. I appreciate this video. Sorry I don't get... Okay, I remember that comment. Yes, sir, that's me. Awesome. So nice to have you on live on stream. I'm gonna say I can't help it because I love the few people have a name that you can say and it sounds just so good saying it. Logan Bernard Mitchell. Like, what a name, man. That would be that you know, I just want an excuse to say it. That is really cool. I animated Jafar to challenge myself. Does seem like a challenge to you, who is a character who is challenging for you. To be honest, I didn't really find this particular thing challenging in terms of moving it and drawing it. What is challenging for me at the stage where I'm at now isn't so much... I feel that I can draw and animate anything and it will look good and look proficient and all, and I can do that with little to no challenge. It doesn't feel like I'm being tested. Just unfamiliar, working things out here and there. Like, I can go away and tidy this up, and you know, in 3 hours I've keyed out feature animation, you know, which will sit nicely in the movie. That's the truth. I'm not saying it to try and beef myself up. It's the truth. But there are things that challenge me immensely, and this is the challenge for any artist, particularly after they have acquired the skill set, because the skill set is the entry level. That's where you want to feel worthy and you want to feel secure. But even when you attain that skill set, there is the feeling of insecurity and unworthiness remaining, because there's something that you're trying to get into your work, which is that feeling of appeal, exaggeration, staging, those last 3 laws of life, which really don't get talked about enough. And the reason they don't get talked about enough is just because they are the ones that give it the wow factor, the oomph factor, that take it beyond just being an acceptable scene, a good scene, to a really, really appealing scene that gets you right here. That really, like, one of the things I like to talk about for more recent animation is John Pomeroy's Milo Thatch, when he has his tantrum about going, and you know, we're gonna go, and he's having a tantrum. I can't remember what he says, and have I left anything out, is the last thing he says. And it's such a scene. You can look at the line test more so than the finished animation. I could watch it on loop for the whole day, you know. Now that's a performance. Now, to be you can't put it in every scene you do, because some scenes are just connecting scenes. But to be able to animate a really, really passionate, heartfelt, you know, sentimental, even amusing performance, that just, like, for me, looking at Sword in the Stone is one of those. Like, practically watching that film, for me, I am smiling throughout the whole film because of the performance. performances. Just and then the performances of single characters, dual characters, 3 characters, just perfection. Now that is a challenge. That's the challenge for me now, personally, because I can take any character. I've done it with the Beast. I've done it with Jafar. I've done it, and within a few hours on the live stream, it's practically model perfect. The movements are acceptable for high grade feature animation. So once you get to that level, then I think Richard Williams talked about it in his book, The Survival Kit, when he was talking about Ken Harris. So he was going through the same thing with Ken. Ken Harris was one of his trainers, a famous Warner's animator. And no matter what Richard Williams, how far he got or how good he got or what he did while he was running his own studio, Ken Harris didn't really rate anything he did. I'm going from memory from what I read. And he finally did a scene where Ken Harris looked at it and said, now you can animate. And it wasn't none of the technically proficient stuff. It was the stuff that really, really felt alive in that regard. So that's what it is. If the AI folks are replicants, then we should strive to be the real deal runners. Yeah, no, I wouldn't go that far. Frank makes movies. I don't want to take anybody's joy away from them. I'm not the cancel police. I don't want to stop, unless, of course, we're talking about really nasty, harmful things. Then that should, of course, not, nobody should stand for that. But in terms of if somebody gets joy out of using AI art, who am I to tell them that I'm gonna, that they shouldn't or whatever? They're fake. They're using something called artificial. So if I call them fake, they shouldn't complain because they're using something even by name, which is fake. It's artificial. Artificial art, artificial animation, artificial. But if they're happy, just like the guy who's 50 living in his parents' basement, playing NFL, eating, munching cookies, and there are other people who are actually training to be in the NFL. And some may never make it, some may make it, but they're getting enriched, their bodies are getting stronger, they're building great nervous systems, they're doing whatever. They're two different types of people, but they're both happy, and it's just up to us to choose what kind of happiness we want. Do we want fleeting, momentarily artificial band-aids that feel comfortable, and are we happy to go through life with that? Some people are, and that's not bad, because if it works for them, they cope through existence, more power to them. Or are we happy being as real as we can with ourselves, being as authentic as we can to our inner nature to create, using our brain-body connection, going through the process of training our body to do what our brain says, to have control. I once angered an athlete who was much fitter than me and went to the gym. And I'm a martial arts trainer, but I could do things like pistol squats and handstands, which they couldn't do. And I just said, as far as I'm concerned, I've no interest in your training, because you have no control over your body. You lie on a bench and you push weights. Now, you can do that a lot more than I can. If that makes you happy, great. But you know what? I've got pretty good control over my body. I would like to have the kind of control over my body that perhaps a gymnast or a ballerina has, because that's my nervous system. This is my machine. What you do doesn't impress me. Good luck to you. Very angry. They got very annoyed about it. But I'm not trying to take away their joy. I'm just trying to say that for me, having that control over my machine, no external machine. It's the machine, it's people who have control over their machines that built these machines. And to be able to see what's in my inner eye and bring it out and watch it and learn more about myself. That's reality. That truly is reality's creation upon earth. Now, there are others who simply do not have the will. They're asleep, they're happy, hypnotized in the nightmare cloud, which is masquerading as a dream cloud, presenting anything and everything to them at the flick of an eyelid. And they're happy. And now they feel that they can create better than those of us who like to use our machine. And some of us perhaps cannot draw or animate even half as well as their momentarily creation via their artificial system, and they can be quite mocking of the person who is trying. But I like to bring in mind the gluttonous, unhealthy, beer swigging couch inhabitant who criticizes the athlete for failing as they are progressing through their goals, dreams, desires, and ambitions. Again, both are joyfully in the moment, but as an outside witness to it all, I think the inner standards of integrity, humanity, and self worth would purely be aligned towards the individual who is aspiring to better themselves via action inspired by the brain. But that's okay. This is a wonderful world. These are wonderful devices. There are plenty of people who are going to forever look at that and forever create with that. And my agenda, if you will, we all have one, is to encourage you to look within and draw from within without, as within so without, as above so below, to draw what it is, because you learn more about yourself, you learn more about your authentic self through that process. And to focus on that, and to focus on those who are on the same journey, and to not lose focus upon the actions of those who you do not align with. And if you're honest with yourself, harbor some discomfort with regards to feeling towards. So don't waste your time on what they're doing, and don't feel insecure, don't feel afraid, because even if you cannot draw as well as a 9-year-old, and you pick up a pencil and attempt to, that is an extremely worthy action, far more worthy than somebody typing something into a pre-built system and requesting it to mimic something else which has already been created by people who did exactly what you are in the process of doing right now. So it's time to be real. It's time to be the real deal, and as authentic as you can be, as that R in the back suggests. Keep it real, people. For those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. And do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing's sake, that little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the skies will clear. And then from your very doubt and suffering, will be born the supreme joy of life. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you on the next Real Animator live stream. Bye-bye.